What we need to look at when examining this topic of whether student athletes should or should not be paid, we need to look at the integrity that the universities hold with having their student athletes being labeled as student athletes. These athletes should choose universities based upon them wanting to have a paid education when representing a legacy they could someday be a part of, rather than seeking out universities that will give them the most money for their play. With that being established, I will move on to refuting the on-case arguments. In contention 1, subpoint A, my opponent states that the hours can exceed the hours one takes to work a full-time job. When referencing student athletes, my opponent states that a college study showed that college athletes routinely spend 50 hours a week on their sport. To this statement, I have one response, and that is the document of eligibility posted by the NCAA in July of 2019. This states that during the season, teams are allowed at most 20 hours per week and the max of 8 hours in the offseason. Contention 1, subpoint B, point 2, my opponent stated that the college athletes have nothing going into their savings that should be setting them up for their future. To this statement, I have one response. In a 2016 article written by CBS Sports, it states that NCAA rule will still allow any athlete that they establish a business only if their name, photo appearance, or athletic reputation are not being used to promote the business. So they still are allowed to have a business. Contention 2, subpoint C, my opponent makes the claim that student athletes will be sponsored with big time brand deals, but won't receive any compensation. To this statement, I have one response. I want to refute that statement by saying student athletes that should be focusing on their own academics, along with them being gifted money. There is not any guidance from peers or higher individuals that would help manage their money as there are with professional athletes. CNBC of 2019 states that a lot of money lessons kids learn or don't learn tend to come from their parents. These individuals haven't been given the guidance by financial advisors, and if they were given the money, they could possibly go into debt. Disadvantage. Paying student athletes would more than double the school's budget, which ultimately would raise tuition for non-athlete students. The money has to come from somewhere, so it would come from the money and or grants that would be given to other students. A, paying student athletes would create an employer-employee relationship requiring the same benefit and protections, which would be salary, benefits, insurance, retirement, vacation time. They're all offered and presumed to be part of the college or university's standard employment package. 1. In addition, presently, most student athletes are provided a free education that, depending on the school you attend, could be as much as $100,000 or more for 4 years of amateur play. 2, the NCAA stated that NCAA Division 1 and 2 schools provided more than $2.9 billion in athletic scholarships annually for more than 150,000 student athletes. Based on that estimate and if we put a minimum wage of $15 times 40 hours a week times 52 weeks, with 150,000 students, that would be around $4.68 billion, which is almost double. B, in addition to the estimated annual wages that schools would also have to provide health insurance, vacation time, and other benefits, and they have the liability that schools could have to pay the student athletes if they were injured while performing on job. 1. Other questions that would have to be resolved include, could student athletes be eligible for workman compensation benefits if they were injured during a game? What if they were injured during a practice? Could a student athlete be fired if they weren't performing up to their standards? And how would that go? 2. In a Bleacher Report article written on October 4, 2008, found that the bills for Ohio State's football team to fly out to Los Angeles was around $346,000, along with free travel received. They also gifted free food, books, insurance, housing, and parental monitoring, all that could go a lot longer than some extra money. C, the impact of students being paid for athletic performances raises a myriad of issues, including there is a limit of acceptable range to schools that would pay their students athletes. Some of the schools that had more money could get better athletes, could get more athletes and stuff like that. And then all the schools, they would suffer from, would they not be accredited anymore? How would their school be viewed as outside of athletics? How would they be viewed academically? Finally, onto the plan. The NCAA will support compensation on top of their college tuition. To this overall claim, I have one response. 1, the overall compensation that athletes are receiving is understandable given the education, housing, and lifestyle that is given to them when they pursue their athletic and academic career. In an August 21st, 2011 article posted by Patrick Riche of Forbes magazine found that the cost of attendance and projected earnings data that the average value of college football scholarship is in excess of $2 million for student athletes. Advantage 1, subpoint A, states that this will make an athlete take the training way more seriously. To this, I have two responses. 1, in in an article written October 14th, 2015, the New Yorker stated the value can be seen in the countless student athletes from gymnasts to softball players who pour hours of work into training and competing with no future hope of going pro. 2, athletes that are playing college sports are already putting in enough effort into into what they're doing to perfect their skill. But if we put a dollar sign ahead of that, they will stop trying as hard in school. In Advantage 1 subpoint C, my opponent states that the plan will also allow student athletes to afford their lives. To this, I have one response. In a 2017 article posted by Listland found that Ohio State, the average in-state tuition of the university was over $10,000, yet the average athletic scholarship is around $17,800 for male athletes. In Advantage 1 subpoint C, my opponent states they don't have to worry about bills being paid or rent being paid. I have one response to that, and that is that the large number of student athletes are provided free living with their college tuition packet.